Hi, my name is Jose Romero. I just launched a personal brand a few days ago, and then I did it fairly quickly within 4 hours. So I want to kind of showcase, and share how I did that. So it's just me rambling with a few slides, showing you how I did that, and hopefully it'll help other people interested in starting. This was a zero to complete in a few hours with some little bit of pre-work, post-work based on my previous attempts. So I'll go and share my learnings and kind of show how I simplified everything and was able to get to work. This is obviously kind of a self challenge to post stuff publicly. I'm not a very social extrovert kind of person, but this is kind of forcing me to do so and get out there and really kind of showcase what I know, what I do, and hopefully it helps other people. So yeah, the graveyard. The graveyard is what I call my collection of past ideas, business ideas, startups, things that I was able to get from zero to one and then stop, never launched apps, domains. It was never really a skill problem. It was always a shipping problem. It was never able to actually execute. So this YouTube channel, as well as my personal brand that I'm creating, is kind of a way to kind of get myself out of that rut and out of that cycle. So how to get started? Obviously, you need a brand. Either you do your name or you do a business name, and you need a face. It's proven that faceless YouTube with AI videos is not the trend going forward. Having a personal brand, whether it be for your career or for your side hustle, is always nice to have. Tried this in the past. In 2019, I had tried focusing around my personal name, personal brand with a cheap AI generated logo. It was good enough, just never did anything with it. Bought the domain name, got the logo, it just sat there. In 2022, I was like, hey, let me revitalize this. Spun up another website, hired someone to make the logo actually look decent. And that's actually the logo you see below. But then again, that was me feeling accomplished and never doing anything with it. And then in 2016, just a few days ago, I took all that logo content, some information about me, threw it into Cloud Code and said, hey, enough is enough. Do the whole thing. Spin up my identity, do the logo, give me a voice. Here's information about me. Here's what here's where I jive with. Here's where I enjoy. Get me started from 0 to 1. And I was able to do that pretty well. Created a folder, created an MD file, launched that pretty well. What you see here is what some of the assets that I was able to generate based on my quote unquote branding. But yeah, once you have your name out there, whether it be a business name or your personal name, the first thing I would recommend everyone do is take your name. In my case, it's Hi Jose Romero. Jose Romero was taken. The other variations were taken, so I used Hi Jose Romero as a way to kind of lock that in. And then I took that domain, purchased it, and I'll kind of showcase some of the different options you can do with purchasing later. But I purchased the domain name, and I wanted to make sure I locked down the important things. So I got my domain name, I got my social media accounts locked down. So I went to the basics: LinkedIn, YouTube, X. Even though I'm not going to be necessarily posting on a lot of these, I went ahead and made sure that I had the domain name secured so that if I did use them later, I'll be able to kind of leverage that. So social medias across all platforms that are relevant and that you care about posting in the future, and then domain name. That all links to obviously the registrar, which we'll talk about here shortly, GitHub, hosting where I'm doing that, email, and obviously the newsletter that will eventually push stuff like this out. So yeah, first one is the domain register. You have a few options. I've used Namecheap in the past. There's GoDaddy. There's a few others out there. Fortunately, a lot of them are clunky with a lot of add-ons and paid services, even Cloudflares as well. But I migrated away from things like GoDaddy because all the add-on services. Namecheap is great. I've used them for many years. Have some other domains sitting on there, but I always end up just taking my Namecheap domain, registering on there, then pointing it to Cloudflare. So when doing some research on this implementation, I was like, why don't you just skip that part and go straight to Cloudflare? So I was able to do that, and it saved me the cost and the headache of having to do all that linking, even though it takes only a few minutes. So my pick was Cloudflare. I was able to register a domain for about $11. That includes a ability to keep your stuff private, make sure that stuff is updated, and you have a credit card on file for the renewals. I went ahead and just paid for 5 years, so it's something that I'm very committed to, obviously, because $55 versus $10 is a big cost. It's an initial down payment for starting a personal brand, but I'm willing to do that. Paying, you said, like, sit down there, prepaying in years is a choice that I made to save a little bit of money in the future. Next is DNS. Like I mentioned, you need DNS in order to kind of point your website at different services. I use Cloudflare as my DNS and my register provider. From there, I pointed my Cloudflare name to Vercel. Vercel is kind of a all-in-one hosting, blob, networking environment. Like, it just does a bunch of stuff, and it works really well with API stuff. I can do a whole video on Vercel if y'all are interested, but just as a high-level view of how this is configured, domain essentially points everyone from my personal domain over to the website or ML servers, depending on what route of the domain you use. It's free, so you can buy your domain anywhere you like, and then Cloudflare can redirect you to the desired output. And it's really nice because DNS SEC, which is essentially a way to prevent people from spoofing you, is based on some cryptography, things like that, that make your domain a little bit more secure. That's enabled in Cloudflare with a single click. So it's very convenient to kind of just get everything hosted in Cloudflare. The website, pretty simple, Next.js plus Vercel. That's what I chose to pick. Vercel has a lot of hobby plans that are pretty generous for people that are just starting. There's no fee, there's no credit card requirements. Obviously, as I scale and as the personal brand scales, I will have to pay some services. And there is some general consensus that Vercel can be overly priced for what it's doing. However, this is me going from 0 to 1 without going too much into the nitty gritty of everything. It works great with Cloud Code, and AI is able to provide all the MCPs and authentication stuff that I need to get that to work. There's obviously static pages you can do. This would be even easier. Editing is a little bit more pain, and then deployments are not automated. And then there's obviously Squarespace, Wix. There's a few other hosting websites that are out there, and you can even do your own WordPress site on the VPS. So there's a lot of options for website. I chose Next.js and Vercel because it's something I'm used to doing on my own. It's a free tier and it doesn't produce any additional costs up front, maybe later when the site grows. And I was able to get it up and running through GitHub in only a few seconds. Just the basic domain configured and working. Email. So email is something I've struggled with because typically I go with Google Workspace. However, with me kind of de-Googling my life, this kind of felt wrong. So what I ended up doing is actually taking a day and really getting into the weeds on secure, safe alternatives to Google Workspace. One, I didn't like all the clutter and the cost. Like, my personal Gmail is on a Workspace domain, and it started costing me like 10 bucks a month, right? And then now it's 20 bucks a month, and it just continues to increase. That and the introduction of all their AI stuff inside of their emails, having to disable stuff all the time, it's really annoying. And I understand if you need it for enterprise. However, for what I'm building, I need something that's lightweight, controllable, private, and that just works. So I was able to get Fastmail configured with my domain. Again, it's very simple. You just kind of update the text records and you do what it says and follow the prompt to register your own domain name. And it has a good migration path from Google Workspace over to Fastmail. ProtonMail does too, and there's a few other services that do that. However, Fastmail I think is the best use case for me. But happy to debate people on this because I know there's technically more secure emails than Fastmail. Some of the indexing stuff gets kind of weird with Fastmail, but I'm okay with that. Like I said, I don't ever treat email as being secure. I just want to be able to use email without risking the price increase every single month. And I was able to pick up a very good deal on a 3-year plan here as well. So you can pay $5-6 a month for the ability to register a bunch of domains, have your Fastmail configured, have all that done. Or you can pay Google Workspace, $10 a user, and plus whatever Workspace they charges for the rest of your life. You do get some storage, you get some other stuff, but all that I kind of got figured out on my back end. So the newsletter I use, instead of using like Beehive or Substack or some other kind of newsletter subscription service, I just built my own with Resend API. I don't have anything outgoing now. I just have kind of a subscriber list that I configured. I don't have any scheduled posts going out. So even if you go subscribe right now to hijoseromero.com and you enter your email, I don't have anything outgoing at this time. I will eventually and hopefully be able to send out my newsletters automated and get that configured working properly. I was just really tired of paying for like a Beehive subscription because it's like 30-40 bucks a month, and that's only for the beginner package, and there's features locked behind a paywall. Let's say you want to use APIs or an MCP of some kind, you require kind of enterprise packages, so that's kind of annoying. So yeah, they offered me 20 bucks a month whenever I tried to add my new I think they call it teams. I already had a previous account with Resend, so I was trying to add a new team that's separate for specifically hijoseromero.com. When I did that, it said, hey, you have to pay 20 bucks a month for a email plan of some sort. However, I was able to just back out of that, and it worked. So free, didn't cost me anything. Obviously, once I get above 1K subscribers, I don't mind paying for the service, and hopefully at that point I can make some money off some form of income off my personal brand, whether it be YouTube ads or some kind of affiliate program or whatever it may be. Don't really care right now. Even at 20 bucks a month, it's well worth it, and it's a really good service and works well with Claude and APIs and all that fun stuff. So yeah, this is kind of a breakdown of what it actually costs. Like I said, I've done this where I've tried spinning up a personal brand or a blog or a newsletter or a post, and every single time I sign up for these tools, buy a domain, I'm in it, 50, 60, 70 bucks, and I have to pay recurring subscriptions to Squarespace that now is like charging, I think, up to like $240 a month, which I think is ridiculous, or like a basic Beehive subscription that only goes up in cost. I was able to do all this for just $8 a month if you consider it monthly, or $6, which I did by paying upfront. And I control the infrastructure, I control the mailing list, I control my DNS, privacy, all that fun stuff. So yeah, this is me going from zero to a configured system. Claude Code obviously played a big part in this. Once I had all that stuff kind of figured out, Claude Code helped me wire it all together. It kind of gave me instructions on how to set up my private GitHub repo in order to push into Vercel. This is actually a very easy process. You just say, hey, install the Vercel on command line tool along with the GitHub command line tool, point it to a repo, the Vercel access GitHub, push, and then that will get pushed live. Cloudflare was all the DNS stuff, the register and the DNS security stuff, and then separate from that is my Fastmail, which has my inbox to my domain, as well as eventually my personal domain. I'm going to kind of merge this into one, and then once newsletters are all kind of configured, ready to go, you do some validation with Resend and get that done. So what do you end up with? You end up with a website that is currently live, that has a working newsletter sign up page. You have a domain that's secured through Cloudflare as well as DNSSEC. You have a working deployment infrastructure that will take ideas written by Claude or myself and launch it to GitHub, then get deployed into production or preview if you really want to. And I have my email configured so that when I do post my email publicly, you can email me if you want to work with me or chat with me or just say hi. Now that all this is configured, obviously the next step is go through my socials, take my signups that were done with my personal email address when I was locking everything down, and move them to my new domain name. So that'll be my next step. But yeah, this is pretty much how I was able to do this in a matter of 4 hours versus, again, doing one of two things: getting started and buying a domain name and feeling accomplished and then doing nothing, or two, buying a domain name, doing some of the work, getting to step 1.5, and then stopping and freezing. So this kind of solves both things. It gets me to step 1 quickly with a few dollars, and then it gets me to hopefully a working final state by launching this channel and keep myself accountable. So yeah, this is my first video. Hope you stick around. I don't expect any greatness out of it, but I'll be back with day 2, and hopefully the next days has some cooler stuff than launching a website. All right, feel free to subscribe if you thought it was cool. I'll catch y'all later.